Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and today we're having a chat with actor, director, musician, C. Thomas Howell. How you doing, buddy?
Rockin Robbie.
Rockin Robbie, that's right.
What's going on?
Oh, super good to be here. I'm excited to meet you. I was a
Thank
big fan of you. So many movies when I was growing up. You are a central part of.
Thank you, man.
Right? And I'm sure you're...
That's all we had back then.
Yeah, right?
Movies and magazines.
And 80s. Is there a better decade?
You know,
like,
well,
seriously.
I don't know, maybe for hair.
Okay, maybe. You're probably right about that one. So your first on-screen role was E.T.,
Yeah.
right? And I've heard that you got that role because the kid who was cast before wouldn't smoke a cigarette. Is that true?
He came from a Mormon family, and he was cast, and Spielberg really wanted him to smoke a cigarette, and it turned out that his mama wouldn't let him do that.
Yeah.
And they started to recast that role, and... of course, my father didn't hesitate to cram a pack of Marlboros into my hand, and lo and behold, I got the part.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So your first movie gig was working with Steven Spielberg, and then right after that, you do The Outsiders with Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
You're talking about two of the biggest directors out there to kick off your career, right?
Yeah, but at that time, I could give a rat's ass, right?
Okay.
I was just 13, 14 years old, and I think that was a big reason I was... sort of wanted by those two epic directors, because I just wanted to. I was a kid, you know. When you're a kid, you don't want something from somebody else. You know, I didn't look at Steven as if he was Steven Spielberg or Francis as if he was. You know, these are Academy Award-winning directors. So for me, I didn't really care about that.
Yeah.
And I think there was something attractive to both of them.
Okay.
And, you know, once you go from Spielberg to Coppola, 13, 14 years old, it's all downhill from there.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. So then the cast of Outsiders, nowadays we look at them and they're like, that cast is filled with stars, but at the time it may have been a little bit different. Were y'all aware? Was anybody like the rising star of the bunch?
You know, Matt had done a couple of things, but it was, for the most part, all of us had... You know, we had done maybe one, maybe two small things, but E.T. hadn't been released yet, so it hadn't become E.T. yet. In fact, the guys used to tease me that I was in a movie called E.T.
Okay.
But, you know, there was we all suspected that it was special. I mean, we were big fans of the book, and S.E. Hinton and Francis Ford Coppola, that's a pretty dynamic duo right there.
Yeah.
And we had high hopes, but here we are 40-plus years later, and... You know, I must have seen 1 million stay gold tattoos in my day. I never really suspected that it would become required reading in 80% of the schools across America. And
yeah.
Probably another 80% of those schools screen the film. And every year I get a new batch of crying teenagers that come on my social media sobbing that Johnny Cade is dead. And then they find out Pony Boy is 57 and old and gray, and they really start crying. So, you know, it's been a hell of a ride, and a great platform to reach out to the kids. And you know, gosh, I've been in a room where we've had 4 generations. You know, Nana, the mother, the daughter, and the baby.
Yeah.
And they're all dressed in their greaser gear. So it's been, you know, the support that we've received from fans over the years has been epic.
Yeah, that's awesome. So your father was in the film industry. He was like a stuntman or something?
Correct.
Or was that what you were wanting to do?
Well, that's what I thought I was going to do.
Okay.
You know, nepotism's a big part of the stunt world, especially back in the old days. And I just grew up considering, you know, the amount of sets that I'd been on with my father. He was my father was a single parent. And I'd go to set with him all the time.
Okay.
And that's how I kind of got into the business. One day, one of the directors on the set I was on with him said, hey, you know, can he read this page? And my father said, ask him. And, you know, I worked out with the director a little bit and got the part. And it just started to come easy to me, you know. I got an agent at a really young age through my father's commercial agency that he was with.
Yeah.
At one point, my father was a Marlboro man. So we had a commercial agent for a while, and then they had a theatrical department at that agency, and they started sending me out, and I started getting roles, and my father was like, well, you know, this is going to be a lot better than landing on your head for a living. So
okay, yeah.
Took advantage of that.
I bet you did. One of my favorite movies that you're in, because I'm a huge horror fan, is The Hitcher. The Hitcher is amazing. You're amazing. I remember being a kid, I'd get super wigged out in the scene where you're eating the French fries,
Yeah.
and you pull up the finger, right?
Nasty.
It just used to terrify me, but I loved that kind of stuff. And Rutger Hauer, what was it like working with him on that movie? Because you two worked so well together. In that
Super
film.
intimidating man.
Yeah.
Hands the size of baseball mitts. But at the same time, really took care of me.
Okay.
You know, it was my first lead role. I had done a lot of ensemble stuff up until then, Red Dawn, you know, The Outsiders, that sort of thing. But working with Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jeffrey DeMunn and Rutger, all award-winning, award-nominated actors, that was the experience that, for me personally, kind of solidified the fact that I wanted to do it for a living for the rest of my life. And
Oh, wow.
I learned a lot from those actors, and Rutger in particularly. He was, you know, what I learned from him really showed up in a project I did years later on a set of Criminal Minds when I played the Reaper. And, you know, Rutger didn't really play bad guys. You know, he played good guys that did really horrible things.
Okay.
And he was grounded and rooted within that, and he wasn't afraid to show all emotions, you know, love, fear, empathy, those sort of things. And when a villain is able to tap into those emotions, the audience really is affected.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, a guy that's made out of Teflon running through a hail of bullets knowing that he won't die until page 90, so he's going to laugh during this scary moment.
Just twirling his mustache.
You know
right?
what I mean? So it's a big lesson that I learned there and was able to apply it years later, and it was a big part of my career, of course.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Criminal Minds, because I wanted to talk about, you've done a lot of television work too.
Yeah.
How's that different, especially from film back in the 80s and the 90s?
You know, back in the day when you were a film actor, you stayed away from TV, but, you know, that stigma of being a television actor versus a film actor has faded away.
Yeah.
In fact, I think, you know, for the most part these days, there's better writing on TV than there is in film.
It seems that way, yeah.
You know, you get people like Taylor Sheridan and some just phenomenal showrunners who can pump out great material, hire good actors and the best crews. I'd rather be on a top TV show than I would a Marvel movie any day.
Yeah, absolutely. Though you were an amazing Spider-Man.
I was.
Right?
Yeah. And, you know, grateful to have been in that. But like I said, there's a certain limitation that goes with those type of movies. And good storytelling isn't generally a part of those projects.
I got you, yeah.
You know, great effects. And you know, I really respect the people that make those films. But if we really were to break it down today, I think there's a lot better writing on television.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people would agree with you there, too. You've also done a lot of directing. So what's it like directing, especially what's it like directing Carrot Top?
Yeah. Scotty is a great guy. I knew him sort of before he really became Carrot Top, and was always just a big fan of what he was pulling out of boxes, and super smart guy. Really smart guy. He's clever and fun person to be around. And so I was doing this little action movie called Pure Danger, and called him up and I said, hey, you know, would you play this role? He was just like a box van driver down a highway where we had this intense car chase, and he got caught up in the middle of it. And imagine Carrot Top being caught up in the middle of a car chase. And,
yeah.
It just seemed like to make good, fun sense to me, and we've been friends ever since.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Tell me a little bit about the music. What made you decide to jump into music after being basically a veteran actor?
Yeah, you know, God, the last thing I wanted to be was another actor / musician. There's definitely a stigma that comes with that. Some of these guys didn't make it easy on me. But, you know, when COVID hit, it just really slowed everything down. And I had always been a fan of musicians and wanted to make that a part of my life. But didn't realize until I started playing the guitar a little bit and writing songs that I had a knack for writing songs. And I write all my own stuff, and moved to Nashville and got a band, and have just finished my second album. And last year we opened up for Leonard Skinner and Tanya Tucker and Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin brothers, and just
not too shabby.
Really kind of took off for us, and I didn't really anticipate any of that. But you know, it's just another form of telling stories, and that's really what I am as a storyteller, and the opportunity to be on stage and to connect with an audience and play some good music with some great musicians is just something I always wanted to do. And when COVID hit, I was able to, tackle that dream, and it's been kind to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what's coming up next?
So I just, I'm on a new series that I'm not able to say what it is yet, but that'll be coming out next year, and it's the second season of a show that came out last year that was just epic.
Okay.
And I'm super excited about that. And I just finished a movie and a sequel to it for Paramount Studios that's called 1 Mile, and it's with a fine young actor named Ryan Felipe.
Okay.
We just finished that a few weeks back, and I'm working on a documentary right now on The Outsiders that I'm producing and directing, and that's keeping me real busy.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come and talk to us.
Thank you, sir.
Really appreciate it.
It, man. Y'all be well. From me to you, stay gold.